Okay, more people joining. Today's conversation is going to be about real estate. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I want to say happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays to everybody. I hope everybody has some fucking turkey in the American way, of course. Yeah, today we're going to talk about some exciting fucking news for real estate. You know, what I believe is going to happen next. And happy Thanksgiving. Shout out to the bachelors in the building. Shout out to Project Bachelor. Shout out to Worldwide Bachelor. Shout out to Slim Bachelor. And shout out to Glory Bachelor. But and also shout out to the mods in the building. But yeah, so I'm very optimistic when it comes to the market for 2025. And I don't think that it's just going to be a situation where just the people at the top win. I think that it's going to be a cultural change. So today we're going to go over a couple of videos and look at some cool stuff, you know. And when we watch these videos, what I want you guys to do is I want you to take all bias out. You know, this is how you collect data. You know, you watch it just with no bias and you listen to what the person is like intently saying. That's how wealthy individuals, you know, how they're able to read people fairly fast. There's no bias. I'm just listening to what you have to say. And from that, you know, from that conversation, just listening to somebody, you can, you know, develop either way. You can agree with them, disagree with them, but it gives you more knowledge. That's, you know, that's how the wealthy think. And they do that because they have to, they don't have a lot of time. They're very busy, whether it's mentally busy, whether it's physically busy. So, you know, that's how they're able to understand and read people fairly fast. So let's start with this interview. It was an interview from Trump. And like I said, some people might like Trump. Some people might hate Trump, but that's not the conversation here. The conversation is about what is he actually saying. So let me add this to the screen and we'll look at some other junior econ individuals that's in the finance space online. But like I said, I just want you guys just to listen.
I wanted to do, and I felt like it was something we needed to talk about. So I find myself sitting here in Trump Tower, getting ready to interview President Trump for a few minutes. I think you're going to find this really interesting. So President Trump, thanks for taking time to sit down with us.
Thank you.
Honored to be with you. Good to hang out with you. As you know, we do a show called The Ramsey Show. We are concerned with
and it's almost inflation over the economy, if you want to really know, because people are getting wiped out like never before. I think it's the highest inflation we've ever had. They say it's the highest in 48 years. I think it's the highest ever. There's never been any mess like this, and it's because of what they did with energy. Also, then they topped it with spending with money, that trillions and trillions of dollars that they didn't need, that's being just wasted.
So let's do this. You know, as he's speaking, I want you to think about what he's saying. You know, he's saying from an energy perspective, we completely just went the wrong way. So, you know, when you're listening to him, just hone in on that and what he's saying about the energy and the spending, because he's going to give you, you know, direct examples of what he's talking about.
But the first thing you have to do is get the energy down. If you get the energy down, other things are going to follow. You want to get the interest rates down too. And interestingly, even interest rates are going to follow energy, because it's going to take that burden off the shoulders of the economy and off the shoulders of inflation itself. And we are going to drill at a level that you haven't seen since, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago. But even more so, we would have been so dominant by this point. If you remember, when you go back to the beginning of this really failed.
And for those that don't understand what he's saying, he's trying to explain the ripple effect of what happens when you detach an economy from an oil base, which the Democratic side wanted to do. They wanted to get away from the oil base, so they stopped drilling in America. And what he's going to say is how energy is, you know, it fuels every segment of the economy. An example, you know, your food has to pay a truck to get delivered to you. So there's a ripple effect when it comes to the economy when the oil production is kind of played with. So this is what he's talking about.
Administration that we're in right now, what they did was they turned off the energy. They turned off everything that I had.
So you turned back on the Keystone. You're going to turn back on the drill baby drill line and the
it's drill baby
in your
drill.
Acceptance speech at the convention.
Sure. It says it all. You know, I'd like to use another line, but there's no line that's better. And we're going to drill baby drill. But the fact that they turned it off, and then the energy, if you look back at the very initial period of their administration, the numbers started going through the roof, the energy numbers. Inflation was good. And then they went back to Trump, where they're trying to equal it. And it kept it bad as opposed to horrific. And it's been really bad. And the energy has been very expensive, but nothing like it could have been. So they went back to Trump type things. But we would have been now 3 to 4 times more. We would have been dominating the entire world on energy. We have more than anybody else, as you've heard me say, but as you also know.
Right.
We have, I call it liquid gold. We have more liquid gold under our feet than anybody else. Actually, by far, we would have dominated. We would have been taking care of Europe. We would have been taking.
So there's 2 things that you can take away from what he's saying. If he's saying that if we were to turn that oil line back on, and the fact that we don't have it on, our economy has gone down at such a rapid rate, then that means that either it's malicious, the other side stopping it, or is straight incompetence. But either way you look at it, a businessman is going to say it doesn't matter whether it's incompetence or, you know, the other thing. The only thing that matters is that it happened. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, when it comes to the other side, whether they're, you know, negligent or whether they're just, you know, fools, they need to get the fuck out of the way. And that's why a majority of the country voted the opposite way, because, you know, the Democratic side from a financial standpoint is a fucking stupid way to go.
Taking care of Asia. We would have been taking care, you know, Anwar in Alaska is the biggest find anywhere in the world. It could be as big as Saudi Arabia. And I got it. Ronald Reagan couldn't get it. Nobody could get it. I got it. It was done, ready to start. And when these people came in, they turned it off. They terminated it. Nobody could believe it.
I don't know if people realize that, you know, 10 to 15% of the entire economy is energy.
Right.
And it will.
Did you hear what he just said? He said 10 to 15% of the entire economy is energy. So that means that when we're not drilling, 10 to 15% of our economy is fucked up.
Weaves its tentacles through everything else. So $5 gas affects the bread truck who's delivering the bread, and that affects the cost of the bread then. And so, yeah, getting that plentiful changes everything.
So I have a little thing that I've been saying lately because I think it's easily achievable. You know, we pay very high energy costs, and especially now, but we're paying very, very high. I believe I'll be able to get energy down to 50% of what it is right now.
So he's saying that he's going to be able to get energy down to 50%. I mean, I'm just saying, if this stuff is possible, these are, you know, you're looking at possibly like America going into its golden years. If it's possible, like I said, forget about the fact who's saying, you know, forget about who's saying it. Just look at, is this possible? If this is possible, how do I prepare myself for an economic boom? Now, this is not just speculation. When it comes to the housing market, what we're actually seeing is more people are, you know, entering the housing market because guess what? They feel more positive about the country. And when people feel more positive about the country, that's how they spend. All of this, you know, this money that we have in pretty much the American dollar is really just backed on sheer belief. You know, people believe that America is the reserve currency. When people stop believing, they stop spending money and stop putting their money into the United States dollar. What Donald Trump is doing is he's bringing back that enthusiasm. And like I said, we're seeing it in real estate. Like more people, are looking to buy homes. And I'm looking at my portfolio and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, how can I make some big deals? I want to shake some shit up. But I think that everybody's going to be able to get a piece of the pie, you know, because if you're looking at a situation where everybody's expenses are lowered and there's more work opportunity, which he's going to talk about a little bit more, I think America could be in for a great time here. So let's keep listening.
Within a period of less than a year.
Wow.
That's pretty good. It's going to happen fast. Okay. It's going to happen fast.
But what are you going to do to do that? What causes that?
They're going to drill. They're going to frack. They're going to do things that they have tremendous additional. So
taking the regs off, taking the regulations off.
We have to. They put them back on. They put regulations back on that areas that have no environmental real meaning, they don't let them drill. They're taking
regulations. The number one thing that stops a businessman The number one thing that stops a businessman is regulations. The number one thing that stops a small business is regulations. You guys might not understand it, but one regulation can cause for a whole segment of somebody's business to just go away. Rules, too many regulations. Now, the other side, you can ask yourself, why would they want to put in so many regulations? Maybe they actually genuinely do care, or maybe they're getting, maybe the power is getting to their head. But either way you look at it, it's causing a problem. What do you think about Trump tariffs? He'll talk about it in this. He's actually going to get into tariffs in a second. And the reason, and I'll give you a preface. The reason why people are against tariffs is because it's going to force the major corporations to move their businesses back to America. It's not because what Trump is saying is wrong. It's because they don't want to move their businesses back to America, because if they're forced to move their businesses back to America, then that means that they no longer have America by the balls. See, the reason why these major corporations have America by the balls is because nothing is made in America. So it's, nothing is made in America, and at the same time, they're not being charged tariffs. So they're able to steal American ingenuity. That's why all the factories went away. All the factories went away because they took those jobs and they put them in Mexico. And what I think with the tariffs, and he'll get into in a second, I think it'll actually have a boom for the economy. But the reason, whenever you see negative press and whenever you see them do a media campaign, when you see on TV multiple outlets are talking about the same thing, that's a media campaign. And the reason why these major companies want to put a media campaign about moving the jobs back to America is because they don't want to move the jobs back to America. It's a lie that Americans won't do the job. It's just Americans won't do the job for that pay. The corporations are greedy, and they're trying to siphon out all of the resources that they can get. So that's not going to happen. So let's keep watching.
Taking leases away, government leases that you're hearing about. I think we can get energy costs down to half of what they. If we do that,
That's pretty dramatic.
Everything, all of those inflated prices are going to come down with it.
I think the other piece of that, and I know he was part of your administration, and you and I were talking before we turned the cameras on, that we have a mutual friend in Art Laffer.
Oh,
and I know he helped a little bit with the tax code in the last administration. And I personally have experienced the Laffer curve, that lower taxes causes increased revenues to the federal government because it heats up the economy. And I'm a small business guy. When you lower my taxes, it doesn't mean I put it in my pocket. It means I hire people.
Right.
And so talk about lowering taxes in the first year of your administration.
Yeah, you probably saw my plan, and I think we have something really good. I was yesterday in North Carolina, which is great. That was the furniture capital of the world. And China then went in and did a number and took so much of that business.
So again, what I'm basically saying is the reason why America is in the situation that it's in is because all of these major corporations can leverage their power against America, because America has no power, because all of the manufacturing is done outside of America physically. So by requiring the individuals to come back to America, then that's something that they don't want to do, because they lose that leverage over America. That's why you're seeing the media campaigns, but it's all bullshit.
Most of that business, the talent. I used to go there to buy furniture for hotels and things.
Hickory, North Carolina.
Yep, in Hickory. I was in Hickory yesterday and made a speech, and we're going to bring it all back. What we're doing is there's sort of a two-phase. Number one, I took taxes from 39% to 21%. You know that better than anyone. It's the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. And that was great. That's why we became so successful.
It's funny. You think we can do that again?
Yeah, I think we can go lower. And I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm bringing it from 21 to 15, but you have to manufacture your product here.
So the reason why he's taking it from 21 to 15 is because he wants to incentivize the companies to bring it back over. Obviously, it's going to cost some money to move their facilities and to hire in America. So he's trying to offset that. He's trying to say you guys can bring them back, and you're going to get an offset on your taxes to take care of it. And the move is one time, but the tax credit is for the next 4 or 5, 6 years. You know what I mean? So they'll be able to reap the benefits. So he's setting up an environment in which it's very, very business friendly. The powers to be, the ones who don't want to move their businesses back to America, that's sheerly just because they want to be able to leverage their power against America. And if you think about it, why wouldn't a foreign country do that? That's what a foreign country would do. The ones that are pouring so much money into America, like China, they would want to flex their power at America. You know what I mean? They would want to not get hit with tariffs while at the same time paying the exact same amount for an American competitor, when we all know the money that's coming from China is coming from the government. It's not coming from an individual person. So that means that individual Americans or small businesses are literally in conflict with a government. You know, there's no shield. Nobody has shielded the American citizen. And he's saying that he wants to set up that environment. So, you know, forget about who he is. Listen to what he's saying.
Here. And then you pay 15%. And then I'm going to put tariffs on countries so they can't come in and steal our business, so that our businesses now can be competitive. Not that, I mean, China came in and just stole all our furniture and many other industries, by the way, including steel. And I saved steel by putting 50% and 100% tariffs on all of the steel that they were dumping. But we're going to do, so in other words, this is a dream for you then. We're bringing the tax rate from 21. Remember, it was 39, and it was really 50 if you add state and local and all of the other things. So we're going to.
So Trump is literally taking the taxes from 50%. He's taking the taxes. Listen to what he's saying. He said the taxes were at 49%. So that means that he's going to lower taxes from 49%, and he's going to lower them to lower than 15%. So that means if these corporations, they literally can make as much as they want to, and the government is just like, hey, I don't give a fuck, just give me 50% of what you're doing. And now Trump is saying, instead of having that attitude towards our small businesses, we're going to incentivize you to have a small business. See, the Democrats set up a system in which it was a cannibalistic system that literally ate at its own small business owners. And the small business owners are actually what powers America. It's not the major corporations, and it's never really been the major corporations. It's always been the mom and pop shop. So by attacking the mom and pop shop, guess what? America's fucked. Our own tax code was literally written to protect small business owners. That's why you can work and make $1 million in a W-2, which is these NBA players and the NFL players, they get paid by a W-2. Whereas though, if I get paid $2 million in a year, I don't have to pay taxes on anything. That person making that W-2, the NBA player, the NFL player, they have to pay taxes on all of that. The revenue that these losers make from YouTube, they have to give 50% of that up. Millionaire Bachelor is in real estate. I don't have to give any of that shit up. So this is why I'm saying, like, Millionaire Bachelor is on a different level than these motherfucking content creators, like, by far.
Bring it down from 21 to 15. I got it down to 21, which everyone said was impossible, and got it approved by Congress. So it's, it's there. And we're going to bring that down to 15, but you have to make your product in the United States.
Yeah. And we do see federal revenues go up when the taxes go down,
Well,
because the economy goes.
You saw it with me.
So we saw it with Reagan too.
You saw it with Reagan. So at 39%, and then down to 21%, you would think we'd do half, or you'd do much less. In the first full year, we did much more revenue in the United States than we did at 39. In other words, we took in much more money.
Which is how you solve the deficit. I mean, Bill Clinton almost balanced the budget with this exact same.
Yes.
Now, and I want to explain something. This is why I say that I'm the Donald Trump of the internet, because if you listen to Donald Trump articulate everything, you start to realize that Donald Trump is an articulate man. But when you deal with businessmen at such a high level, their focus is not usually on language. And if they're really productive, their focus is on being productive. That's why you'll see, like, an Elon Musk that really doesn't, he talks like a child, or a, Donald Trump who, might talk a little bit weird, but when you sit down and you listen to the thought that he's put in and the intricacy of the ideas, you start to realize, oh, I understand why you're intelligent. And it's the same thing with Millionaire Bachelor. It's just that sometimes I don't feel like breaking anything down. Sometimes I don't feel like, saying like, hey man, this is the reason I feel this way. Sometimes I'm just like, fuck it, catch up. But individuals like us that think on a higher level, it's deep. we don't just think about what's going on. We think about what's going on in relation to what happens next. Example, if 15% of the economy is oil based, if oil prices go down and he can cut it into 50%, then that means that everything in the economy that is has some some linkage to oil is also going to go down. Again, food prices, because they have to use what to transport the food? Oil. So, all right, let's keep going.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. He did. And cost cutting.
Yeah.
We have plenty of cost cutting to do too, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's
In fact, I'm going to ask Elon, who's a great guy, but he's a pretty good.
That was a great interview.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great interview.
Yeah, it was.
That was some interview. We did pretty big numbers. I hear we did like 900 million people or something. That was a pretty good. But he's a great guy, and he gave me a full endorsement and all of that. But he's got a good sense on that. There's tremendous cost cutting that we can do and affect nothing. We're not going to affect anybody. We're not going to hurt anybody. We have to save social.
So what he's saying is he's finding money that's just being recklessly spent. So we could literally just improve our situation just by cutting some of cutting some of the things that don't need to be there, from like the regulations. Like there is a committee that literally deals with putting pressures on banks to deplatform individuals, and it's happened to a lot of people. I mean, even Donald Trump himself was, I believe he was debanked as well. They kicked him out of the bank. Kanye West, they kicked him out of the bank. Like it's happened to a lot of people, and that erodes the confidence in the United States dollar as well.
Security and keep it good and solid. I don't want to be raising ages or anything. I don't want to do. They're putting migrants into Social Security. When they get finished, they are. If she got elected, this country is going bust. If she got,
he said they're putting migrants in Social Security, and I don't put it past. One of the things that I did in my previous corporate America kind of stint, I worked for a healthcare provider, and I was a financial analyst and worked my way all the way up to I think it was like a senior director or something like that. But from an analyst side, and also when you're looking at the claims, these insurance companies, basically the federal government gives the state money for the Medicare, Medicaid programs, but the state, they're not sophisticated enough to handle that, so they send those to the insurance providers. And once you send it to the insurance providers, then they actually manage all the claims for the sick individuals. I worked on a program called Stop Loss, and obviously, if the state only gives you $500 for a member, but they rack up to $100,000 of expenses, that's a loss for you as the insurer. So I worked on the program that actually gathered those individuals that were chronically ill and that were racking up a lot of bills, and going to the state, which probably goes to the federal government, to get funding for those individuals. So, from that standpoint, I have direct insight from a claims perspective of what's going on with Medicaid and Medicare. I saw immigrants in the Medicare and Medicaid rolls back then. And that was damn near 10 years ago. One of the largest healthcare insurers that I worked for. Yeah, this shit has been going on for a long time. And the immigrant has been ripping off America for a very long time. Very, very long time. This was well before 2015 when I was working healthcare finance.
Elected, we're going back to 1929 depression. It would be a disaster for Medicare, Social Security. They're allowing millions and millions of people to come in. You can't use these schools anymore. The quality of life in this country has gone so bad because of what they've done.
One of the things that our viewers know about us, we work with tens of thousands of small business people. And so coaching them, 54% of the gross domestic product is businesses 500 people or less.
Yeah.
Almost everyone in America, over half, almost 60% of people work for a small business. And I know small business.
So again, just like I said, if America is run off of small business, he said 60% of America is employed by small business, and you increase regulations, you increase prices, what happens? A lot of those business owners have to, you know, because a business, let's look at a business as four fingers, right? They try to diversify their portfolio, and they try to get into multiple things. The more regulations, the less things that they can get into to, you know, create a profitable line of business. You know, because not every line of business is going to be profitable. There are some cases in which you have a negative, you know, line of business because of tax, you know, write-offs. It gets deep. It gets hairy, motherfucker. It gets real hairy.
Is where jobs come from, not from government. So politicians don't create jobs; small businesses do.
The small businesses,
kind of pisses people like me off when when the politicians say they're ones making the jobs. We're the ones making the jobs. But when you guys in government can take your hands off of small business and allow us to do our thing, we're able to employ people and change things. So how can you help small businesses?
Well, the best way is just letting them do what they have to do, but we still have to give them a playing field. If we don't give them a level playing field, they will die. And that's what happened before. That's why China came in. That's why they came in, and they came in at a level like nobody's.
Listen, think about it. Let's take hotels, for instance. You got this hotel individual that's, you know, doing his thing, you know, small mom and pop. And then you got the Chinese government that starts to invest in American real estate, because we all know that that's not illegal. So you got the Chinese government doing it. You got BlackRock doing it, investing. So they're going head to head with these individual and smaller businesses. And they're going to always win because they have larger budgets. So what Trump is saying is he wants to get those individuals either out of those businesses or even the playing field. If you're, you know, being backed by the CCP, then you can afford to pay 40 or 30 to 40% more. You can afford that shit. Or guess what? Get the fuck out and give the businesses back to America, which he ultimately wants anyway. Or bring those businesses and employ American citizens. So he's forcing people to come back, which they should. They've raped and pillaged America until it's nothing else left. It's nothing else left there.
Ever seen, and we did nothing about it. So the word tariff to me is a very beautiful word, because it can save our country, truly. And yet, I think because of graft, because of a lot of consulting payments and other things that given by other countries, we have so much fighting with politicians on using it. I saved our steel industries by putting tariffs on steel.
What he just said, listen to what he just said. He said the reason why they're opposed to having tariffs is because because the outside governments are putting lobbyists in Washington, D.C., and they're getting kickback payments. So the American politician is the individual that's in the way because they're the ones that are benefiting while the people are hurting. What he's trying to do is he's trying to take away those incentives for the politicians to let, you know, these outside governments fuck America over. You get what I'm saying? So it's deep, and it'll save pretty much the country if you think about it. Because if there's a foreign government that creates a lobby in fucking Washington, D.C., which I don't think you have to be, you know, an American citizen to do, and that lobby is literally lobbying for their best interest, which is a foreign government, that makes sense. China would advocate for itself. But the problem is with China advocating for itself, the losers are the American citizens. So he's trying to get China out of the politics. So you got to listen to what he's saying. Forget about what you think, you know, you understand about him, because a lot of people, they'll miss a lot of important information because they've already perceived and given somebody like a perception. And you can't do that. You got to listen intently to what everybody says. Even an idiot can give you information. He can give you information as to why not to be an idiot, or he can give you useful information that he doesn't even know he's giving you. So you always have to intently listen to, you know, what people are saying.
Deal that China came in and dumped. And you know what they do? They dump and dump and dump. Everybody goes out of business. Then they buy those businesses very cheap, and then they raise the prices to higher than they ever were. That's one of the many benefits.
And let's not gloss over that. What he basically just said is, he said the CCP and all these other major corporations outside of America, they go head to head with the mom and pop shop in America. And when the mom and pop shop goes out of business, they just buy the mom and pop shop and raise the prices even more. So without the tariffs, you don't have anything to offset that. There's no, the tariff is the protection to the American people. Now people say, well, it's just going to raise prices. Not if you bring the jobs back to America, which he's saying, because he's going to go from a 21% to a 15% tax decrease. So the reason why they're trying to trick you up on it is because they know that the average individual won't put together the circumstantial evidence to understand the full picture. If he's telling you to bring your businesses back, and he's going to give you damn near a 7% decrease on your taxes, these major corporations, that kind of makes up for it. But they don't want you to put those two together. So that's why they're telling you to be against a tariff, because they know you're only going to look at 50% of the equation. Sometimes most people aren't going to look at it at all. They're just going to just literally agree with whatever they see on the TV. And usually successful individuals don't just agree with whatever they see on TV. They question everything
that they have if they want to do it. But by putting tariffs on, as an example, in the furniture business in North Carolina, it was so vibrant, and they stole our business. And they charge us, if you wanted to build a furniture place, if you want to sell your furniture in China, they won't take it. But if you want to build a plant in China to make furniture in China using their labor, they open it. We're doing the same thing. But a lot of people like, oh, well, we don't want to have tariffs. The country was at the richest point in its history in the 1890s. It was all tariffs. If you looked at William McKinley as an example, he was a big tariff president. They had committees that were put in charge of what to do with the money. We were taking in so much money. And McKinley would say, why should we let other people come in and steal our factories and steal our workers and steal our jobs? And why shouldn't we benefit?
And also, you have to ask yourself the question, too. If tariffs are so bad and everybody's saying that tariffs are going to crash the economy, and we all know that everybody, the other side hates Trump, then why wouldn't you be happy that he's going to show failure? These people are bitter that they lost, so they would definitely be extremely happy if tariffs was a failing idea, but it's not. You don't cry wolf over things that are not true. If somebody says, yo, millionaire bachelor, you're not who you say you are. I mean, well, for content purposes, I'll speak out on it, but like in my actual everyday life, I could give a fuck. Oh, that's hilarious.
He tariffed the other countries. And we made so much, and then they went to the income tax system later on. But they would actually they had a blue ribbon committee. Our country was so rich, they didn't know what to do with the money. And this blue ribbon committee was set up to determine how can we spend all of this money. And they took it in through tariffs. But we can turn our country around, make it strong, and then guard it with tariffs.
Yeah. Let's change gears for a second. My wife Sharon and I were in Scotland 2 weeks ago, and we played a bunch of different courses there, including turf.
I think now the conversation gets into somewhere like less analytical. I like to look at like the analytical side. I can talk for hours about just real estate and comparing ideas. What my real estate plan for 2025 is going to be, it's really just honestly going to capitalize on my portfolio now, improving my portfolio, and the things that are not in my best interest, cash out, because you have two sides of real estate. One side of real estate is going to be your cash flow. The other side is going to be your equity. Usually rich individuals, they get rich off of equity because it's a lump sum payment. And usually when they get that lump sum payment, they put it inside of something known as a 1031 tax exchange. And that allows it, that money not to be taxed, and you get to keep putting it inside of another investment and growing and growing and growing. So that's what I'm going to do. That's going to be my investment strategy. Definitely. I got a lot of equity in a lot of places, and I think it's time to do boss moves only. So I only want to do boss moves in 2025 if the deal is not over 2 million. I don't want to do it. So I want to get to that point, and I'm pretty much there at this point. And that's what I'll be doing for 2025. It'll be boss moves only. And I'm going to bring you guys along for the journey. I'm going to let you guys see what it looks like to sell a house and walk away with, $300,000, $400,000 in cash. Obviously, Millionaire Bachelor does not carry around cash. That's another thing. If you are, you're a business person, you're living in the major city, you don't want to deal in cash, and you don't want to deal in cash because of the optics. If you're walking around with a lot of cash, you don't want to give anybody any bright ideas. So, put the money in the bank account. Millionaire Bachelor puts it in the bank account, or I put it in the ETF, mutual funds, invest in the S&P 500. But I'm not one of those guys that just walks around with like wads of cash. I don't do that. It's not the smartest thing to do. But that's my investment strategy for 2025. I'm definitely taking you guys along for the ride so you guys can see a lot of this stuff. But I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic because what Donald Trump is essentially saying is he wants to change the culture. And not only that, we're seeing early numbers from real estate that's literally telling us that more people are getting, excited about the market, and they're actually getting into the market now. If you look at a Philadelphia, DC, or even New York, there's energy around the market. And the reason why there's energy around the market is because the people now have somewhat faith in the system. 75% of the country did not have faith in what was going on. It was just that some people couldn't come out and say it, or they would have, been punished. They would have lost their job. They would have lost their livelihood. But there are a lot of people that are definitely relieved that the other administration is leaving. So that's going to spur a lot of business activity in and of itself. Great time to get in real estate right now, I believe. But the real estate market, that's a different discussion. We should say, no, let's get into it. So with the real estate market, it's going to be very interesting because, a lot of people called for somewhat of a crash. They're saying the prices are getting out of hand. Now, when you analyze like the enthusiasm numbers that we're seeing in the economy, we're going to have to probably wait like a month and a half to see what that means to understand it. Because we are seeing, I think it rose like 12%. The demand for a home rose 12%, which was the highest since 2021 or something crazy like that. So yeah, I mean, people are excited about the market and they're excited for Trump coming aboard. He has to knock it out the park, which I think he will. I think he's a businessman. I think he knows what levers to pull and what levers to push to bring things back. He's seen it at a high level. Most people say, well, he had a he had a bankruptcy. Well, the man still has billions of dollars in the bank, and his names are, still in the skylines of Chicago, New York, many other places, golf, whatever you have it, golf courses everywhere. So he is a successful individual. In the case of, the bankruptcies, some cases for the business, not the actual real estate, because you can have you can have a brand that's a business, and you can also have the real estate. So maybe one of the, businesses that he did, because he had a lot of lines of businesses, maybe one of the businesses wasn't profitable. And instead of affecting everything else that he had going on, you do a bankruptcy on that corporation, just that corporation by itself. It protects all of your other assets. And that's just a smart thing to do. Most people don't understand that, but, I think Trump knows exactly what he's doing. And with the enthusiasm, I'm enthusiastic as well. All right, let's go to some of the chats. Project Bachelors, happy Thanksgiving. MB, shout out to you. Shout out to you. Salute. Absolutely, absolutely. Kyle Samuels, what do you think about Trump's tariffs? Same thing I just said. The tariffs are going to, pretty much protect the American people, because right now the American people are literally they're going head to head with these major corporations or even hostile governments. If I was China and I wanted to destabilize the American people, I would put money inside of the real estate because I would know that I can manipulate my own currency and I can put the American citizens at a disadvantage, because one person in one family probably doesn't have the backing of trillions of dollars. That's just common sense. You're giving us a lot of detailed insight. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was excited. I was excited about how the market is going. And, somebody left me a comment and I was like, you know what, let me talk about it. Because there might be a misconception that things might get bad, but I'm not seeing those indicators right now. I'm not seeing those indicators. If you look at the real estate market, like I said, the thing was to not get rid, but there was supposed to be a market crash, because the prices were too high. And I think in some markets you'll see cooling off. I think in Florida you'll see a lot of cooling off. But I think in major markets with lower demand and lower inventory, because remember, the supply and demand curve, controls everything. But those places with lower supply are still going to be able to sell at a healthy rate. So that's why I'm, tapping into my real estate portfolio and about to make some boss moves. It's time to make boss moves. I mean, we sat down for a while to see what was going to happen next. And that's another thing. That's another sign of somebody being wealthy and successful. And you guys got to understand, you have to be patient. You have to be patient, which is not the best in these times, because they kind of teach you just to be impatient. So you have to have a combination of both. You have to know when to be patient and when to be impatient. A businessman can kind of do both. An example would be me just sitting back with my real estate portfolio and seeing what's going to happen next. Okay, I have a grasp of what's going to happen next. Now it's time to jump off the porch. Now it's time to go all out, do some fucking boss moves. And a lot of people, they can't get there because they can't pull the trigger. And fuck that shit. Pull the trigger. Just make sure that, whatever you're doing, you're willing to go that extra mile. You gotta be willing to go that extra mile. You can't be hung up on, any type of emotional ties with anything. So yeah. And this is just the pretty much, my content is not telling you what to do. My content is telling you what I'm about to do. My content is telling you, this is how maybe you might want to think about things. And the reason why it is because you got to think about a lot of shit. If you have a lot of investments before COVID, it crashes. Okay, how are you going to rebuild? How are you going to get back to normal? How are you going to even excel from that? You want to be able to be Teflon strong, even though I don't think another situation like this will occur for a very long time, but it happened. Always be prepared. Thanks for talking about all of this. Absolutely. Had a great meal. Shout out to Dion Cameron. I appreciate you. I was stuffed, had like 4 plates. Goddamn, bro. You definitely gotta go for a jog now. I'm just kidding. Do billboard ads still work? Buying up real estate to place billboards for ads. Buying up real estate to place billboards for ads. It depends on where you're at. With the regulations, and this is another example of regulations, even if you do buy a house that you have proper space on the roof to do advertisement in a place like New York City, it's outlawed. So the money that you could be making, you're not making because of so many regulations. So I don't know. Hopefully what Trump is doing can trickle down to the major cities and, put some ease on everybody else. If you're asking me whether, buying like the digital spaces and the land to actually put the billboards is a good investment, hell yeah. I mean, I spent $30,000 on 10 billboards, and those billboards were digital. So that means that they just literally programmed the board into the board and they got my money. They were able to get money from Millionaire Bachelor. That's an ingenious idea. Now, we both got something out of it, but yeah, they're just literally just sitting back and money's coming to them. So I don't think that's a bad idea at all. You should look into it. What do you think about Mexico doing revenge tariffs? Well, if Mexico attempts to do that, their whole entire economy will be decimated. Not only would their economy be decimated, Trump he has another power play. He has the United States military, and he can designate, if she wants to do that, then what he would do is designate the, what are they called? The cartels. You designate them as terrorists. So at the same time as doing the tax cut, you also destroy the cartels, and that'll destroy the whole country. So she's not in a good place of these goddamn flies. She's not in a good place of negotiation. And I think she's going to see that really, really soon. And if I was Trump, I would fuck him over. I would, just to let him know, like, This needs to stop. This behavior needs to stop. We're going with this mission. How are you going to tell America, the country that everybody steals from? How are you going to tell us, hey man, we want to keep stealing from you? Fuck you. Fuck you. Bring those jobs back to America. Yeah. Boss moves can be risky at times. People knocking bankruptcy are people just ignorant of risk and investment. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if somebody does a bankruptcy on a business, it's very different from a person doing bankruptcy on their personal. And bankruptcy on your personal, horrible. You don't want to do that. Bankruptcy on a business, you don't have anything that's tying you to that. And if you don't do a bankruptcy on your business and it's a losing asset, then the bank can go after your attempt to go after your other assets. So that's never a good sign at all. When you can just file for bankruptcy, cut your losses, and that's just one line of business. Literally, just one line of business that you have. Or you can go down with the ship. I mean, a lot of people have done that. They've gone down with the ship because they've had too much pride. Pride is a cancer. Pride will stop you from doing a lot of things that you should do. People might get attached to something like, oh, you know what, I'm attached to this, but you see the market falling. You can't be attached to anything, How would you go about getting millions of views on shorts content on TikTok or Instagram? That's a good question, because if I knew the answer to it, I probably would be doing it myself. I think, well, actually, that's not true. The truth is, promoting the content, that will have a great effect on it, and also paying other content creators to do it. But I think I've gotten to a point where I don't necessarily want to, pay other people to do this stuff anymore. I think I'm at a point where I can just launch and do my own shit. So my strategy versus your strategy will probably be a lot different. If you're looking for the longevity, then it's going to take a lot of work. If you're looking for the instant gratification, then you would go to certain content creators, and you would give them some type of incentive. You would say to them, from every sale from whatever X amount of product, you get a cut from it. So if they have a large following, let's say they have 20,000 followers, and they're a finance channel, and 5,000 of those people will buy the product, and the product is $10. That's $500,000 right there. And let's say they get a 5% cut of $500,000. That's like what, 10,000, or I think it's like 10,000 or something like that. So if you word it in a way which the content creator is going to win and you're going to win at the same time, then it's kind of a win-win situation. Here with Millionaire Bachelor, I wanted to make it a win-win situation with actual people, meaning that, hey, you're a part of the brand, and as high as our brand gets, obviously the trickle effects will have trickle effects on you. But that's long term. That's a long term. And the reason why you want to do it long term when you're looking for some type of brand loyalty is because you don't want people to just like you for just that moment. You want people to kind of like the product that you're selling. But from your standpoint, you are actually selling the product, and your goal needs to be to make money. So you would have to go to different content creators, whether it's running ads, whether it's doing Google ads as well. If you're selling a product, the fastest way is definitely going to go to the content creators and go to them with like some type of financial layout. Hey, look, based on your audience, we believe 5,000 people will buy this at $10. That's $500,000. You can get a cut of, let's say 10%, that's 50,000. So only thing you do is post this for X amount of time, and you'll be able to get $50,000. Yeah, if you do that to somebody, your product is probably going to blow up fairly fast. Key thing is staying consistent. Absolutely. And like I said, it depends on what your motive is. If your motive is just to strictly make money, then yeah, you're going to go and you're going to do those cross marketing opportunities. Kind of how I did it when I first came in. Like when I first came in, I was just doing work with everybody. And then after a while, I was like, you know what, that's watering down my product. I don't want to be seen as, somebody that has to go on this person's platform. It's like, no, Millionaire Bachelor is a standalone, because all these people are fucking thieves anyway. They're liars and scammers. Millionaire Bachelor is more of a standalone. So I don't know. It depends on how you want to go about it. But how I just broke down all of that stuff in like 2 seconds is how you have to think about it. You don't have to come to the same conclusion as I do, but you have to critically think about it in the way that I just critically like broke everything down. That's going to be a successful person. That's a person that just constantly keeps looking for solutions versus constantly keeps looking for problems, if you will. But yes, I just wanted to come. Let me see. Appreciate the game, MB. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because realistically, most of these people that are on YouTube that are pushing this content, a lot of them have never done anything in real life. Some of them have, though. You do have some content creators. I think the Bigger Pockets guy, I think he did do it in real life. I think he, hit a rock bottom, and that rock bottom kind of made him into the investor that he is. Same thing with Robert Kiyosaki. I believe that he's a real investor. Vivek, I don't really know too much about his business. Elon Musk is a little bit shaky with him, but I do think he is intelligent. But I don't really know all of his story. Only thing I know is that his father owned some type of emerald mine, and emerald mine, and what is it? Somewhere out in South Africa. So. Yeah, be wary of the people that you listen to. All right, that's all I want to talk about. I'm optimistic about 2025. Hell yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. Absolutely. Millionaire Bachelor out.